He has taught at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and has served as Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and Director for Research at San Beda University. In addition to his academic work, our keynote speaker has consulted for global organizations such as the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and USAID. His experience spans both public and private sectors, having served as Assistant Secretary for Competitiveness and Innovation at the Department of Trade and Industry, and as a Senior Consultant at the National Economic Development Authority for the Philippine Development Plan. Today, he will discuss bridging innovation and market, catalyzing technology transfer for commercialization for national development. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Napoleon Juanillo Jr.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First of all, thank you very much to Caraga State for inviting me again, to President Regil, Dr. Llosa, and to all our speakers, to the esteemed researchers and faculty and students of Caraga State. Let me start with a story, as I will be having a lot of stories today. Early in the summer of 1965, the University of Florida assistant football coach of the Gators, Dwayne Douglas, led a group of scientists on campus to determine why many of the University of Florida's players were so negatively affected by heat. Now, of course, if they're affected by heat, productivity slows down in terms of playing football. And so, let's see. Maybe I can just say next slide. Okay, I'll just say next slide, please. Okay, so they consulted the University of Florida kidney specialist Dr. Robert Cade, and Dr. Cade developed in the University of Florida science labs a drink designed to fight dehydration, rebalance the gators or the players' body's electrolytes, and restore blood sugar, potassium, and body salts so they can continue to perform at a high level through their games. Next slide, please. And of course, this is what they call now the Gatorade, right? And the Gatorade now has 72% market share in the US sports drink, and last year captured about $6.7 billion in sales. You're all familiar with Gatorade, right?
Yes.
Very good. Ano makita natin kung ano talaga ibig sabihin na innovation, no? And over the years, the University of Florida, kasi yung Gators, yung football players, ang tawag ay Gators, kaya naging Gatorade. Over $250 million in royalties for the University of Florida since 1973. And also for the University of Florida, next slide please. The success of Gatorade has translated into more resources to support research and funding, scholarships, everything from the University of Florida's Whitney Marine Laboratory in St. Augustine to the on-campus Genetics Institute. And over the years, royalties from Gatorade and a host of other products has enabled the University of Florida to invest in countless research projects in a wide variety of disciplines. Remember that Gatorade just doesn't come in one form. It comes in various other flavors. And so you can just imagine, imagine how it started with a small problem, a problem with dehydration of football players, and all of a sudden, a search for solution, which was rather simple, right? A simple concoction, and look what University of Florida is basically reaping now. Now, question, can you imagine Caraga State doing the same thing? No, that's a challenge for you. Think of a problem, it has to start with a problem and think of a solution that can sell. If it doesn't sell, forget it. You know, innovation is all about products that you can sell, you can move in the market, can be widely utilized. If it's something that only interests you, you're only passionate about it, forget it. Sell it to yourself, sell it only to your family. Next slide, please. I have a story of David Cutler and Tamara Meckler. These are two former graduates of Stanford, and they went to the Philippines, or they came to the Philippines. And they too were in search of a problem. Next slide, please. And the problem was insulated packaging, which they think or believe is a $15 billion industry worldwide. The problem with it is that it's dominated by polluting plastic products and unmet customer demands for sustainable alternatives. Of course, it's a $15 billion industry, but the problem is that it is basically dominated by plastic products, and there was no solution related for anything that can basically be much more sustainable. So talking about sustainable development goals. So the problem was the styrobox, one of the most universally despised products because, well, it's so cheap. But then again, in the Philippines, around 300,000 styrofoam boxes move through our domestic seafood trade at any given time. And that box lasts only for 4 trips before it's tossed and then replaced, and of course, piled up in our landfills or washed out to the sea. So that's the problem. Next slide, please. So, according to David and Tamara, they began by moving to a fishing village and spent their first summer after graduate school in Stanford on Lubang Island. What I like about this example is that David and Tamara did not know anybody in the Philippines except, of course, their Filipino schoolmates in Stanford. And one of those schoolmates is Dr. Siki David. You know, but CP wasn't here in Manila or wasn't here in the Philippines. So they didn't know anybody. They don't have DOST funding. No grants in aid. Nothing. You know? So they went to Lubang Island, occasionally riding along with the skipjack tuna and mahi-mahi to the fish markets of Manila. They interviewed fishermen and their families, joined them at sea, relaxed with them at home, and soon they were designing and sewing prototype coolers alongside them, following their lead on features and requirements. Next slide, please. And so they took a similar approach to manufacturing, meaning to say, identifying local materials that the global supply chains have overlooked, and diving deep alongside the folks who knew the materials best. And of course, they were fascinated with the coconut husk and met with the coconut husk collectors, met the smallholder coconut farmers, who earned a little bit more by selling the waste husk, and learned to predict coconut fiber quality by looking at a knot. You know, so they iterated through the insulation designs on the factory floor, even commandeered water trikes, or I think these are called like habal-habal, to fetch endless bags of ice for tests. And they had this 14-hour bus ride from Sorsogon to Manila in order to reality check the new coolers. Next slide, please. And so they said that it's all about listening to friends that they have made. Next slide, please. It's also about experimenting and discovering with friends. And this is what they got. The solution was to basically replace that styrobox with natural fibers once and for all. You know, stop talking about sustainable development goals, very practical, you know, no humongous grants and aid. The secret is agricultural waste. They partnered with smallholder farmers and cooperatives to turn leftover coconut husk into premium isolation, and they call it Fortuna. You know why Fortuna? Para sa tuna. Fortuna. They call it Fortuna insulated packaging made from coconut husk fibers. It's more durable, more insulative than plastic foam alternatives, and they can compete on both price and performance. So guys, whenever we talk about innovation, there's also price, there's performance, there's all of these things. And thoughtful design ensure that it integrates into the existing supply chains. Think of the supply chain and make it easy to replace the styrofoam boxes with Fortuna coconut packaging. Then a little bit more creativity. They started iterating and coming up with other ways of looking at this, the possibilities. You know, so next slide, please. Next slide. And so this is what they got, you know. So the coconut husk turned basically into this basic coolers. Next slide, please. But because there's also Tamara Meckler from California who started designing other ways of looking at these coolers. Next slide, please. And so it is also about fitting lifestyles and looking at various markets that can possibly still use those materials or those boxes. They call it collapsible tuna coolers, and they have the F durable, etc., etc. Next slide, please. And so this is Tamara and Meckler, Tamara and David now. We say taking risks, going into the unknown, from San Francisco to Sorsogon or Lubang Island, seeking frontiers, being comfortable with trial and error, and having fun, which is what innovation is really all about. Next slide, please. And now, what's more important is selling for $149 US dollars, US dollars for every box, So, and you can check on David and Tamara Meckler. Now they became very good friends of mine because I used to ride the bus from Manila to Bicol, and Tamara and David would also be on the same bus, and that's how I really got to know about them. Are you with me so far? Yes. Very good. Remember, follow the money trail, okay? Don't follow your passion, follow where the money is, and that's where it is. Now, what are the missed opportunities? Missed opportunities, I'm telling you, I'm from Bicol, and as far as the European Union is concerned, next slide please. I'm from Bicol, and as far as the European Union is concerned, the pili nut is not a nut. Can you just imagine that? The pili nut is not a nut. So how do you make it a nut? Because as far as the European Union is concerned, next slide please, you have to supply every shore of Copenhagen, Sweden, and all these other ports in Europe with tons, shiploads of nuts. Next slide please. No, this is it. Sige. Next. So tama na yung mga drama-drama natin sa gara-garapon na pininat, no? Tama na yun. As far as the European Union is concerned, these are not nuts. Because for them to classify it, to code it in the system as a nut, it has to reach the shores of Europe by the shiploads. Walang gara-garapon. Diba? So I'm telling you, research and development, R&D stands for research and development. It does not stand for research and drama. So tama na yung drama-drama natin. We have to really be serious about it. If you want to hit the big time, then think big time, research big time. Tama na yung mga gara-gara, you're not from Bicol, we're the only ones producing this peanut. Who cares? The world will say, who cares? I want shiploads of it for me to code it in my system as a nut. How many of you are familiar with IKEA? Are you familiar with IKEA? Yeah. IKEA, when it first established its first largest store in Asia, in Manila, of course there were some grumblings from the makers of the bamboo trays in the Philippines. Right? Sabi lang, oh, bamboo tray lang, IKEA pa. Sabi naman ng IKEA, of course you can give us your bamboo trays. No question. You can give us all your coasters. No question. But we need 2 million of that every day. You know? Hindi 50-50. 50 galing Guagua, 50 galing Los Baños, 50 galing Sorsogon. No. It doesn't work that way. You know? So the R&D question is that how do you make 2 million bamboo trays every day? Because they have to supply all the IKEA stores similar designs, similar dimensions, similar color, similar everything, similar specs all over the world. Because ang IKEA, hindi naman siya boutique. Kung gusto mong boutique, hindi pumunta ka sa Tiangge. Then may gara-garapon doon, meron doon maliit na poster, etc., etc. So guys, let's keep our heads together here, you know. Tama na yung mga patingi-tingi. Innovation is hindi siya tingi-tingi. Diba? Innovation is hitting the big time. Next slide, please. Ako, I like this one. For the first time, ang asin dapat daw pure. You know, asin, sorry ha, I'm just being like Secretary Sunjun. Like, this is the first time that we have to have asin that is pure. You know, there were some State University professors who were telling me, I said, oh, so what's your commodity research? And said, oh, artisanal salt. I said, so how do you do it? Oh, we consult with the indigenous community on how they do it. I said, okay, that's fine. I hope somebody uses it. You know, because as far as the gourmet salt market is concerned, it is a 5.97 billion industry by 2027 according to the research and markets. The global gourmet salt market as of 4 is forecast to grow at a CAGR of 7.2%, nearly 5.97 billion in 2027. Already it stands at 4.52 billion. But friends, yung sinasabi nating artisanal salt, hindi dahil sa ginawa ng indigenous community, okay ka na. You know, para sa akin, that's a lame excuse and that's also a lazy excuse. Because the R&D there, next slide please, is all about making sure it is microplastics free, it is contaminant free, it is dirt free, it is dust free, and it is mud free. The drama there is when you say, I'm working with the indigenous community. You have a PhD, that's your ace. The indigenous community is depending on you for new information, for new technologies, you know? So, there's no way, you know, na you will depend on them for anything because the whole world, no matter how you say it's made by some villager, it will not buy it. You know, I'm telling you, you just have to kind of put your head around it now because I'm a little bit talking with urgency because I'm also in charge of tracking Chapter 8 of the Philippine Development Plan and until now we still don't have anything to show or argue. Next slide please. Same thing, another research and drama, coconut, the tree of life. You know, but as far as the International Trade Center is concerned, the Philippine discoverability for coconut is only 45% compared to around 75 to 80% discoverability that's being made by Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. So we say that it is our tree of life. But we still have to rediscover the potential of coconut and its agriculture and creating new markets and developing more value-added products. I hope I'm making sense to our Indonesian lecturer, but this is exactly what it is.